Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast. Thanks for listening. I am Billy Embody. A little bit of a different setup this week as I'm down in Baton Rouge for LSU's set of camps this summer. But that doesn't mean the podcast stop here at On the Pony Express. And we have good reason to be coming at you on this Friday because SMU football and basketball both picked up commitments Thursday night. Big news on both fronts as two really impressive prospects jumped on board. And we're going to lead off with the basketball side of things. And Chance Puryear out of Dallas Carter, a 6'7" small forward, went ahead and made his pledge to the Mustangs. He's one of the top risers this spring when it comes to the recruiting scene on the basketball side of things. And this is a guy that held offers from the likes of Mississippi State, Texas A&M, UTSA, North Texas, and others. And when you look at Chance Puryear, what I like about this pickup is his versatility. Could play the 3, could play the 4. Rhett Lashlee and his staff did a really nice job getting out ahead of this one. They got him on campus this fall. They've had him on campus for games. They really made this big push for him, and it paid off. And in early June, he's ready to shut it down before he plays out his senior year summer on the circuit and goes through his senior year on the high school side of things over there at Dallas Carter. But you sit here and look at the rankings, a really impressive pickup for SMU. On threes, pretty high on him, ranking him the number 131 overall prospect in the country, number 37 small forward nationally. And the big thing with him is he does play with a little bit of a physical edge, which I like. He does have the ability to make jump shots, including from beyond the arc. So when you look at SMU losing a Sam Williamson after next season, I like Chance's opportunity he'll have to play early as a freshman and replace Sam Williamson in the lineup potentially long-term. SMU, I think the big thing with this coaching staff is they like guys that, first of all, you start off with the defensive side of things. That was the big kind of change for Rhett Lashlee and his staff when it came to kind of what they wanted to go out and find, whether it be the transfer portal, whether it be the high school ranks. And I think that's what they've continued to do. Tyreek Smith is kind of more of a power forward in my mind. You look at Jaheim Hudson, who they brought in from Georgia State, who's going to have multiple years left. He's kind of a big 3, maybe a 4 on that front. So this is just kind of continuing to piece together the puzzle of the long-term plan for SMU, which, by the way, still has a scholarship open for the 2023-2024 season. With Chance Puryear, it's a really nice building block, a Dallas prospect that SMU was able to get in on early and get him on board. So kudos to the staff for being able to get him on board. Again, I think he's somebody that could have a really nice senior season and continue to kind of rise up the ranks recruiting-wise. So we'll continue to keep an eye on him as he develops. When it comes to SMU basketball, with the offers that they have out there and the targets that they have out there, I think the big emphasis is overall on Dallas. And we've talked about this on the website if you're an On the Pony Express subscriber, which, by the way, just $1 for 3 months, $50 for the year. Subscribe today. Trust me, with official visits, team scoop during summer workouts, both basketball, football, all those things, realignment, you're going to want to be on board for the summer. So jump on board today before that expires. SMU has really prioritized a lot of Dallas area prospects, and they've had some success getting guys to come through and visit and do all of those things. They've also seen some guys like a Liam McNeely, who's a 5-star. He's playing out at Mount Verde out there on the East Coast now, but he's a Dallas native. They weren't able to get as much traction with him. But you look at 4-star small forward Jalen Shelley. They've hosted him for unofficial visits. They're trying to continue to kind of hang in there as Louisville makes a push. But he's out of Prestonwood Christian right up the road from SMU and is a really talented prospect. You also look at a guy like Dylan Battie, who they offered out of Lancaster, another 6'7" forward who's starting to pick up some recruiting steam as well. They are looking to prioritize Dallas. And when Rhett Lashlee and his staff got here, they were able to get a lot of these top 2024s and 2025s from the area immediately on campus. That was a lot of the June run that they had of guys visiting. They had guys that came through for unofficials during the fall as well. So we've kind of talked a lot about their plan, and the plan from the start was to rebuild this roster through the transfer portal, and they've done that. I think they've elevated the roster. Now you got to go out and win games and turn this thing around this coming season to kind of to build momentum. I mean, I would say that they don't really have too much momentum to kind of share. They're more doing it off of the plan right now. And hey, this is what we want to build. Now they got to show it. They got to take that next step when it comes to building this program. And to do that, they've got to land guys like this from the high school ranks. And we've kind of circled the 2024 class as all right, this is where we're going to see if Rob Lanier's recruiting chops and his staff's recruiting chops are there. And I like getting Chance Puryear on board early. I think that says a lot that he was ready to shut things down early on before really the summer picked up for him. So I like this addition for Rob Lanier and his staff. This is a good first step in the 2024 class. And this is a class that, like I said, they're going to still use the transfer portal. That's, what today's day and age of college athletics is. You got to use that and get good players. But this was kind of the class that they've really circled from the start that they want to be able to build into a really good position. So kudos to the staff for getting Chance Puryear on board. We will continue to dig on what is next for SMU when it comes to their final scholarship spot. Right now, I've reported on the board. There's nothing new to share. SMU is being very careful with that last spot. They've rebuilt the roster. They have a lot of guards on board that can handle the ball that they feel good about long-term. BJ Edwards, Zurich Phelps is back, Jalen Smith, Chuck Harris, Denver Anglin, Ricardo Wright played some last year. Those are a lot of the players that they have that they feel good about the backcourt. Then you look at the front court. They've addressed that. Bringing in Jaheim Hudson. They return Xavier Foster and Keon Ambrose Hilton, and they also added Tyreek Smith. Then you've got your wings with Samuel Williamson. Jaheim Hudson kind of play out there. Mo and Jai is also in the front court. This is a roster that I think the final piece, if I'm SMU, is either another point guard because you can't have enough ball handlers, maybe a big man just because Mo took some steps last year. You're hoping Xavier Foster can really emerge this year in the front court, or maybe they add another wing, combo forward type of player like a 3-4 to bring in. So I'm intrigued to see what they do with that spot. They are being very particular about it. I don't think the plan is to bring it into the fall, but that could be something that they go down the line and say, you know what, we feel like we'd be wasting this scholarship or just filling it to fill it. Let's see what the transfer portal yields at the midseason. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do with that final spot on the roster this season. Now we flip over to the football side of things, and the big news is Rhett Lashlee and his staff continue to get it done on the recruiting trail. There's no doubt about it. And Demetrius Brisbon, 4-star athlete out of Tyler Chapel Hill, announced his commitment to SMU Thursday night. This is a massive pickup for SMU, and they have done a really nice job recruiting him. He's a prospect that sits firmly inside the on 300 for us in the 2025 class, which is going to see changes, no doubt about it. But I spoke with Charles Power, our national director of recruiting and scouting, and he does all the rankings. Him and Cody Belair, who's spending some time down here at LSU's camp with me as well. I talked to Charles, though, this morning, and Charles told me this is a really nice pickup for SMU. First of all, Demetrius Brisbon, 5'11", 160, not a huge guy by any means, but is explosive. One of the most productive football players in the state of Texas, playing quarterback for that Chapel Hill team. And we'll get into just kind of what this might mean for more of the guys out in East Texas for SMU that they're recruiting. But he was a district MVP last year. He led them to the state semifinals. I got a chance to watch him a couple times just on TV in general, but looking forward to getting out there and seeing him. He played right away as a freshman. He has been really productive, had 2,200 yards passing, 32 touchdowns, 18 picks, but he is a running quarterback. 140 carries, 1,400 plus yards, and 15 touchdowns. And I think when you look at where he fits into SMU, he's going to play defensive back at SMU in all likelihood. He's very good with the ball in his hands. He could be a gadget type of player, like a Roderick Daniels, maybe. But the plan with Kyle Cooper leading the way, recruiting him, is for him to potentially play that nickel safety, maybe a free safety spot. That is kind of the plan for him going into SMU, if obviously everything sticks. But he has that athleticism, and we like the fact that he plays quarterback, plays both ways. A lot of the indicators of guys who can really get it done at the next level, playing defensive back, played multiple positions and on both sides of the ball in high school. So this is a really nice pickup for SMU. And oh, by the way, just days ago, he was down in Austin for camp and picked up a Texas offer. He was on SMU's campus last night for their 7-on-7 tournament and led Chapel Hill to the final against Highland Park. And he says, you know what, I am ready to shut it down. And he blasted that thing off kind of late night. I think it was 10:30 at night. I'd just gotten done watching the Florida Panthers come back and beat Vegas in the Cup Finals last night. And boom, popped up Demetrius Brisbon. And he's one of the few guys I actually, believe it or not, have on alerts just because he has kind of always been popping up randomly to SMU. So I just keep him on alerts because he's a big time prospect, and popped up. And I was like, oh man, I can't believe he just got done. And instead of waiting till the morning, he dropped a late night commitment. So this is a big pickup for SMU. He also had offers from Baylor, Houston, Arkansas. LSU went through and offered Michigan. So big shout out goes to Kyle Cooper, this whole staff, for leading the way and getting him on board. And this is a big deal for SMU. Obviously, a long way to go to 2025. But you look at the 3 commits they have on board for the future right now. You have Tyler Aronson, who's highly recruited quarterback. He'll be back in town next weekend for his official visit. You have Jamari Colley, who's a 4-star prospect. You have Dallas South Oak Cliff. And now you have Demetrius Brisbon, the highest ranked. And he's the highest ranked of the bunch. He's the highest rated commit since SMU had Jordan Hudson on board. So big time pickup for SMU. The impact of this is that SMU should now probably be considered a little bit more of a contender for 4-star running back Ricky Stewart Jr., who's teammates with Demetrius Brisbon over there at Tyler Chapel Hill. He's one of the top overall running backs in the country. You see, we have him there in the top 150 overall prospects in the country for the 2025 class. Top 15 running back nationally. Now, here's the thing. This one's going to be a bit of a battle, as we know. He named Alabama his leader last month. He's been to SMU a bunch. He's got offers from TCU. He's got offers from Texas Tech, Michigan, Oregon, Purdue, all over the place. And rightfully so. I mean, he is one of the most productive running backs in the country. He was the offensive MVP of the district last season. Rushed for over 2,200 yards, 18 touchdowns. That is, I think he's just shy of 10 yards a carry, which is really that's really what you want when you're looking at kind of indicators for running backs. Just that 8, 9, 10-yard carry a clip. Those are the guys that have that type of high level production that you can sit there and say that's going to translate to wherever they go to college, and it usually pans out at the next level. Also talked with Charles Power about him. Very much a one-cut guy. He's got that ability to hit the hole and make a big play. Want to see maybe a little bit more wiggle out of him, but that ability to hit that hole and take advantage of it is something that in SMU's run scheme, if they were to ever get him on board, that would be a really nice pickup. Just being able to stay patient, make that one cut, hit the hole, and make a big play. So Alabama, he named as his leader early on in his recruitment, but you do have SMU sitting up there with multiple visits, leading the way on the On3 recruiting prediction machine, 5'11", 180, one of the best running backs in the country. So we'll kind of see how that one goes down the line for SMU in 2025. But you get a guy like Demetrius Brisbon on board early on. That's a good sign to other prospects that, hey, let's give them, a little bit more of a look than maybe we were before. And I think you've got to give SMU staff kudos. This is a nice surprise in a way. And Demetrius Brisbon was expected to come back to campus in late July to spend time on the hilltop for that last weekend that you can visit colleges in July. So now he'll do so as a commitment. So massive news for SMU breaking late last night. And they get their 2025 class started off with a bang. Now we move into the official visit season for SMU. This is the first official visit weekend that the Mustangs have had this summer. And let's lead off breaking down the 3 prospects that SMU is going to bring to campus. Let's lead off with going out of state here to Eric Moore Jr., a prospect out of Gulfport, Mississippi, who just really picked up that SMU offer during the spring evaluation period. And Maurice Crum obviously spent some time at Ole Miss, familiar with the state, decided to dish out an offer after seeing him. And SMU is now turning up the heat on him and bringing him in for an official visit this weekend. Stands at 6'2", 210. He's got Georgia Tech there as the On3 recruiting prediction machine leader. But one thing I'll note about Eric Moore is he's been doing a lot of research. I was talking with him about the SMU offer and kind of his recruitment, and he said he really dove in with some players that he knows around the state, and even some players at Ole Miss, and just kind of got a feel for the type of guy he is and what he, what he could expect from Maurice Crum. And I think that's a part of the reason why SMU was able to offer, kind of late in the recruitment. Quite honestly, and now you get him on campus for an official visit. He's going to swing through Liberty and Georgia Tech as well for official visits this month, both coming after SMU. But SMU, I think, is emerging as a true contender here. It's not often we talk about SMU with a prospect out of Mississippi, but when you have recruiting ties, and that's what we've kind of talked about when SMU's gone out of state recruiting, they've worked their ties. And I think Eric Moore will be an intriguing one because you've got that linebacker board that's really starting to emerge with guys like Jonathan Agamadu out of McKinney, Zach Smith out of Red Oak. I feel like I'm forgetting someone. Zaylen Scott has a little bit of an edge, but those are the guys that are really after on the linebacker side with official visit set. This one is the most intriguing because he's out of state. I'm interested to see if Maurice Crum can get this one across the finish line. He's got good size. And SMU is now turning up the heat with him. We continue on with the 4-star prospect who's coming to campus, and that's Chris Wakoma out of Arlington Bowie. We've talked a lot about him on this podcast as he's visited SMU multiple times. He was at the spring game. He's kind of kept a little bit more of a lower profile as of late as far as recruiting goes, but he's got Baylor and Texas Tech official visits later this month. I think this is one that when we saw it earlier in the spring, this was really looking like a true, the actions are kind of saying, well, SMU has a healthy lead here. Baylor and Texas Tech look like they've closed the gap with those official visits. And now I'm intrigued to see if this staff can get him on board. Scott Simons has done a really nice job recruiting him overall and picking up the ball once Craig Niver left for Coastal. And Chris Wakoma has still swung through for visits. He's been there for spring ball. He's been there for the spring game. He's also made some unofficial visits elsewhere. But he is a really impressive prospect who can be a true safety for SMU and sits there as the number 300 in the on 300 rankings for the 2024 class, number 30 safety nationally. So we'll see how Chris Wakoma goes this weekend. He is with those Baylor and Texas Tech official visits, you kind of get a little bit more maybe uneasy about them with the press from, as of now, the Power 5 schools of the group. But SMU's done a really nice job recruiting him for, I would say, well over 2+ years now. I feel like Chris Wakoma has been swinging through and has had a offer on the table and things like that. So he is a highly ranked safety that'll be on campus. And probably the biggest riser that SMU will have on campus this weekend is Sterling Brooks out of North Crowley, Texas, 6'5", 330-pounder who picked up his first offer from SMU earlier this spring as Calvin Thibodeau swung through and did his class evaluations for the defensive line side of things. He added an offer. Then came Grambling. Then came Baylor. Then came Houston, Kansas, TCU. And now Sterling Brooks has this recruitment that he really has the potential to take all the way, I think, to the early signing period if he wanted to. But he told me that he's planning to make a decision right before his first game of his senior season. With Sterling Brooks, this would be a massive pickup for SMU. He's got a Baylor official visit. He's got Houston and Kansas on deck. So SMU's kind of fighting the good fight here, trying to get him on board and make him a key piece to the future of this defense. But he is looking like a guy who could skyrocket up the rankings. You see he's unranked right now. But if he checks out at 6'5", 330, a true 6'5", 330, with the film I've at least watched, I think he's got a chance to be one of the, again, big risers in the recruiting ranks when the next round of ranking updates come out. So SMU's swinging away at Sterling Brooks. We'll see. The first offer for him, maybe that holds enough weight when it comes down to making a decision. So SMU's putting the press on 3 official visitors this weekend, all on the defensive side of the ball before the next 2 weekends get even busier for Rhett Lashlee and his staff. So if you're going to keep track of it, definitely pick up that $1 for 3-month deal at ontheponyexpress.com. Get all your recruiting scoop. We'll have reactions from the guys as they wrap up their official visits, as well as intel on where the Mustangs stand coming off of those visits. I do have a pair of updates to share as we close out this podcast on guys who are, and one were, going to take an official visit to SMU. Gabriel Relaford, we talked about him a lot, a big riser this spring as well with the offers he reeled in from SMU, from Baylor, from Ole Miss to Vanderbilt to Texas A&M. Kansas State offered earlier this week. He is no longer going to take his SMU official visit. He's set to visit Ole Miss this weekend. He's already checked out Vanderbilt for an official visit. I've moved my On3 recruiting prediction machine pick here on Gabriel Relaford to Ole Miss. Low confidence on that one just because I don't necessarily know where he's going to go, but I get the feeling he's not going to end up at SMU. He cited family reasons, his dad's work schedule for shutting down kind of the rest of the visits. He was going to do 5 in June. It was just a little too much. But if SMU is a player here, in the current, time frame, he would have found a way to make the visit to SMU. But instead, he's going to visit Ole Miss and then shut down his visits. We'll see if he makes a decision after that. But right now, I got to give the nod to former SMU defensive line coach Randall Joyner, who is going to host him this weekend. Again, low confidence on that pick, but I just don't think he's going to SMU anymore. So that one, we'll see if SMU can somehow pull it off, but doesn't look likely at this stage. Finally, a nice surprise. It's always good to see prospects in different settings. And Graham Utter is a guy that I saw at the Under Armour Dallas camp this spring. And he was impressive testing-wise, has a similar shuttle time to former SMU center Evan Brown, who has bounced around in the league a little bit and had a great career at SMU. Everybody remembers his game taking over Ed Oliver during that one-on-one matchup in that win for SMU. And I don't know if Graham Utter is going to go on to have that collegiate-type career, but he was very impressive at LSU camp. He swung through to get some work in with Jimmy Lindsey, with Brad Davis, the LSU offensive line coach, and didn't end up picking up an offer. But I can tell you, he was impressive. He was our top performer on the offensive line during camp. Did a really good job in one-on-ones, won the majority of his reps, showed good explosiveness and feet, which is what kind of matched up with from the Under Armour Dallas camp. He's just a guy that his footwork, and as he adds size to his frame and true college weight, has a chance to be a good one. That's the reality of it. He's an SMU legacy. He's going to take an SMU official visit next weekend. That is still on for him. And the Mustangs will look to close this one out, quite frankly. This is a prospect that Really enjoyed his time unofficially at SMU earlier this spring when he picked up the offer. He's taken some unofficial visits elsewhere, but I think he's very happy with where his recruitment is. He's got Troy, UAB, bunch of other FBS offers, but now he's got one official visit, and it's to SMU. So I think that's a guy that still sits in a good spot for the Mustangs. So it's going to be a busy month following recruiting. It was a busy last 24 hours. So be sure to subscribe to ontheponyexpress.com. Pick up a subscription, just $1 for 3 months. So again, the site is growing, largest SMU fan site in the market once again. And if you want the best message board to be around, jump on board today. Do what everyone's doing. Join ontheponyexpress.com. We appreciate all you guys for listening. We'll be back next week for reaction from the official visitor weekend. We'll see if SMU can land a commitment out of it, or 2 or 3. And we'll have all that coverage for you on theponyexpress.com as well. So check that out. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll catch you next.